All right, I just have two more things to share with all of you at the top, and then we'll continue. So today, following the G7's June agreement and the President's October commitment, the United States has disbursed $20 billion to a new World Bank fund that will provide economic support for Ukraine. The U.S. and G7 loans will be paid back by the interest earned from Russia's immobilized sovereign assets, increasingly putting the cost of the war on Russia, not on U.S. taxpayers. After Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine, the G7 made a commitment that Russian sovereign assets in our jurisdictions will remain immobilized until Russia ends its aggression and pays for the damages it has caused Ukraine. The United States and G7 are now making good on that commitment. Together, we will leverage income earned from frozen Russian sovereign assets to provide a total of $50 billion of extraordinary revenue acceleration ERA loans to Ukraine. This will lend vital support to the people of Ukraine as they defend their country, and it also makes clear aggressors and tyrants will be responsible for the damage they cause. And finally, tomorrow, the President and the First Lady will host the first ever White House Conference on Women's Health Research. The conference will bring together business philanthropic leaders, academic researchers, advocates, investors, and administration officials to discuss the President and First Lady's historic leadership to advance women's health research. President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden created the White House Initiative on Women's Health Research to fundamentally change how our nation approaches and funds women's health research. The reality is, despite making up more than half the population, women have historically been understudied and underrepresented in health research. To help close these gaps, President Biden called on Congress to make a transformative investment of $12 billion in new funding for women's health research in his 2024 State of the Union. He also signed an executive order to advance women's health research and innovative directing, the most comprehensive set of executive actions ever taken to expand and improve research on women's health. Since its launch in November of 2023, we're proud that the initiative has galvanized nearly $1 billion in funding to close gaps in research. And tomorrow you will hear directly from the President, you'll hear directly from the First Lady, who are going to discuss this progress and the work that still remains. And stay tuned for more. With that, Josh, as always, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Given the killing of the United Healthcare executive, what would you say to Americans who might sympathize with Luigi Mangioni's purported manifesto indicating that insurance companies ultimately care more about their profits than the health of their customers?
So
is that premise is that premise accurate in any way?
So let me just say at the top, offer up certainly our condolences to the victims and his loved ones. We are certainly tracking the latest regarding this deadly shooting. As you all know, local enforcement is leading the investigation, and the FBI certainly is supporting. So we will know more as they complete their work, and we're going to give them the space to do just that. And we are grateful to law enforcement for apprehending the suspect, and we stand ready to provide further support if needed. And so while we're certainly not going to comment on the investigation, we condemn violence in the strongest term. And so I'm just going to be really careful here and not comment on this case as we do normally. It's not, it's our usual step forward as we talk about these types of situations. Obviously, this is horrific. Violence to combat any sort of corporate greed is unacceptable. And so that is as far as I'm going to go. I'm going to let the investigation move forward, and I'm not going to speak to any manifestos or anything that is coming out to this.
Let me follow. This administration has made price gouging a priority. It's talked about junk fees. The president just outlined part of this in his economic speech. Are Americans treated fairly by their insurance companies?
Look, I think what I want to be careful, because this is indeed connected to this case, connected to this ongoing investigation. I do want to be mindful in what I say from here, and I'm going to let this open investigation continue and let the law enforcement do their job. I think it's important that we give them the space to do that, and I don't want to speak to what has been said by this particular individual. Obviously, we are going to continue to condemn any form of violence that is unacceptable, and so that is as far as I can go from here, given that this is an ongoing investigation, and speaking to it would not be the right thing to do right now from this podium. Karine.
A couple questions about drones. There have been repeated drone sightings in the Northeast, especially in New Jersey. These are not small drones, some of them pretty large. They're flying at low altitudes, they're flying in flocks. Has the president been briefed on this situation?
So we are certainly aware, the president is aware. So we are closely tracking the activity and coordinating closely with relevant agency, including DHS and FBI, to continue to investigate these incidents. Don't have anything beyond that to share. Obviously, this is something that DHS and FBI are tracking very, very closely, and so I would have to refer you to them directly, but aware. Keeping an eye out and looking into the incidents that you just mentioned.
Couple still though, but has the federal government ruled out that these are controlled by foreign entities?
Yeah.
And do you know if they're conducting surveillance over these
So
areas?
I cannot make any kind of predictions or comments about that specifically from here. This is something that DHS is looking at and FBI, so I would have to refer you to them. I don't have anything beyond that. We're tracking this very closely. Obviously, we're all aware of the incidents that have been reported. I'm not going to go into what they could be or could not be from here. That is something that obviously is being looked at as those respective agencies that I mentioned.
When was the president briefed on this?
I don't have a timeline, but he certainly has been made aware of this.
Okay.
And
the New Jersey governor said, it's frustrating that there aren't answers about where these are coming from, that people are very concerned about this. What's the White House message to the people up there who are frustrated that there isn't any information right now?
And obviously, we hear them and we understand that. We are closely tracking this. We are monitoring the incidents that have been put forward and certainly made public. And we have two agencies that I've already mentioned that are looking into this, working closely with folks on the ground, trying to get to the bottom of it. I don't have anything more to share beyond that. Go ahead, Andrea. I was trying to see who else I can call because I know I've called on you already.
So I just wanted to follow up on your comment or your desire to not comment necessarily on the United Healthcare thing, but you did use the words corporate greed. So just
you mean just in general in this administration?
Well, I mean, in terms of, you talked about the horrific response. Just read it back. Obviously, this is a horrific response.
Oh, you mean in my answer?
This is horrific violence. To combat any sort of corporate greed is unacceptable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you saying that you buy the argument that this violence was specifically targeted at some sort of corporate greed by United Healthcare?
What I'm saying is that anything, right? Any type of violence on whatever it is, right? Whether it's political violence or any kind of violence, we are going to continue to say it is unacceptable, and we're going to condemn any form of violence. And that's what I was bringing it more so in a broader spectrum of what we have been pretty consistent in saying at this podium in this administration, certainly this president as well. Any form of violence, whether or what it is, we are going to certainly condemn it.
And then just to switch gears, the president today during his remarks at Brookings talked about leaving office but not going away and continuing to work on polarization and division issues. Do you have anything to share with us in terms of the president's plans? He's cut short his, what will he be doing over the holidays? Can you just sort of give us a little readout on what he's planning and whether, there would be a foundation or or how he envisions working on.
So you're talking about like,
polarization.
what his world will look like post his presidency. Look, I'm going to let the president speak to that. Obviously, he gave you a little bit of a window of his thinking, of what he sees his world post January 20th. I don't want to get ahead of him. This is someone, if you think about it, right, and more broadly, he has had a 52-year career in public service. So he is a public servant to his core, and always believes in doing everything that he can to make Americans' lives better. And you saw him do that in the last almost 4 years, and he's going to continue certainly doing that in the next 41 days, the last 41 days of his administration. And so that is inherently who he is. When he talks about continuing to do the work that he truly believes in. Obviously, he talked about polarization. This is something that he's talked about for some time. And this is also a president, whether he was president, vice president, or senator, and you know this if you followed his career very closely, he has found ways to reach across the aisles to get things done on behalf of the American people. And so I'm sure that is something that he wants to continue to speak to, but I don't have anything to share. I'm going to let him certainly lay that out when he feels is the right time to do so.
And just really quickly, I know that Kirby spoke with us earlier, but the question that I have is on Syria, and it looks like the government there now is sort of, or the direction seems to be to embrace an open market economy. Can you say anything more about further contacts that you've had with the opposition forces there in Syria, and what your sort of understanding is about the direction that government will take?
So look, what I will say is, and what you've heard from many of my NSC colleagues over the past couple of days, and certainly from the president on Sunday when he spoke to the developments in Syria on Sunday when he gave remarks in the Roosevelt Room. So what we can say and what I can say is that we are in contact with all the Syrian groups, including through with including intermediaries, as we work to do whatever we can to support the Syrian people through a transition, and so that's what I can speak to. You heard the president say that various leaders of the rebel groups, including HTS, are saying what we view to be the right things publicly, obviously, but what is important is what they're saying closely matches what they're saying. Their actions closely match their words, and that's what needs to be seen. But I'm not going to go beyond that at this time. But certainly we are in touch with Syrian groups. Okay, MJ.
Thanks, Karine. Just quickly following up on the murder of Brian Thompson, can you give us any sense of how the president himself has been processing those headlines? I think even just setting aside the debate that it has prompted about the healthcare industry, I think just the image itself has been so shocking to a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't had a deep dive conversation with the president about this. Obviously, I know that he has been updated. Certainly have talked to him about what has been reported, and he's been updated by other senior members of his team. So haven't gone into the images or anything like that specifically. But what I can say, and what we've been pretty consistent, and I just mentioned this to one of your colleagues, is denouncing violence and how horrific this incident is. And it is important to certainly continue to say it's unacceptable, to continue to say that we condemn it, and we are trying to be really mindful because this is an ongoing legal matter, and so what we say at this podium, as you know, goes far and wide and has impact. So we're trying to be super careful from here. But the thing that I can say is condemn the violence that we saw certainly last couple of days ago on this issue.
Just separately, can you confirm that the president still opposes the death penalty?
No, his view has not changed on that.
Given that his view on that hasn't changed, can you talk to us a little bit about, I know you're not wanting to share anything that you're not prepared to share yet, but given that has been his stance, is he currently considering the possibility of the commutation of inmates that are currently on death row?
Again, I'm not going to go ahead of the president's thinking. Certainly, we will have more to announce on pardons and commutations, as I've said many times before. But there's a process. He's reviewing it. He's thinking through it. I'm just not going to get into any specifics from here at this time. When he's ready to make announcements, we'll certainly, obviously, share that with all of you.
Quickly, you mentioned the president can speak for himself on a lot of these issues. Will he give a year-end press conference?
I don't have anything to share. Obviously, the president is going to wants to continue to engage with all of you. I don't have anything to share on that.
The former Israeli defense minister was here today. Any updates on where the hostage negotiations stand?
I don't have anything to update you on that, as you know, and we've been pretty consistent about this and pretty forthright on saying how we're certainly continue to be committed and working 24/7 to get the hostages home. This is a priority for this president, and he wants to do everything and continue to do everything that we can to do that. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is going to be traveling to Israel this week to meet with Israeli officials as part of our close consultations on a range of important issues, including our efforts to reach a hostage release and ceasefire deal in Gaza, and the latest development in Syria, and for discussions about Lebanon and Iran. So that is happening. Jake will be going to the region, and as you probably already know, he's going to be meeting with the families of hostages in Gaza, and so they're going to be meeting this afternoon if they haven't already. And this is something that, as you know, he has spoken to this before. Jake Sullivan regularly meets with the families of these hostages, and he has done that multiple times throughout this past year. And so that is something that he's going to be doing today. And so we have been really clear. This president has been really focused on his commitment on bringing Americans who have been wrongfully detained, held hostage. I think we have brought home over 75 Americans who are unjustly detained around the world. And so that commitment continues. And so that is certainly what we're going to work on 24/7 from here.
And to that note, the president said that he believes that Austin Tice, American journalist held in Syria, is alive. What exactly is that based off of, and has there been any movement in terms of securing his release?
So let me just say at the top that is a priority. You heard that from the president when he took, I think, he made a statement and certainly took a question about this on Sunday. Finding Austin Tice is a top priority of this administration. The FBI and State Department have offered up to $11 million in reward to anyone who can provide information. We do not know where he is located. We do not know. But we continue to hope that he is alive. And I think that's what you hear from this president, that he is hopeful that he is still alive, and we're talking through certainly this with the Turks and others to find him and to bring him home, and that is our commitment from this president. I will say more broadly to answer the question, there is no indication that he's not alive. But there's also no indication about his location or his condition. So again, we are hopeful. We are hopeful that he is, and we're going to continue to do the work to bring him home.
Sorry, just to follow up. So when the president says he believes he is alive, are you saying he's really saying that he's hopeful he's alive?
Well, there's no indication he's not alive. There isn't. But at the same time, we do not know his location, and we do not know his condition. That is just sadly the realities that we're in. You heard what I just laid out about what the FBI and the State Department have done, offered up $11 million in rewards to anyone who can provide more information. I think that shows our commitment to bringing him home. And that's what you're going to continue to see from this president. Again, I talked about how he has, in his administration, has brought home more than 75 Americans who have been wrongfully detained. And so I think you can see this president and hear this president's commitment to doing that, getting Austin Tice home to his family. Okay, Peter.
Can you detail how recently or when most recently President Biden himself spoke to the Tice family, what the engagements with the family look right now, and then what, with some specificity, is being done to try to secure more information? Is there a hostage recovery effort that's taking place, that's physically in Damascus on the ground. There are American troops there. What more can you tell us about that?
So I would have to check in. I don't have any update on a conversation when is the last time the president has a conversation.
None since the fall of Assad.
I just want to be super mindful. I just haven't had that conversation, so I don't have anything to share with you on the last time the president has spoken with Austin's family. As you know, Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, spoke to his family just last week, so that has occurred. There's been engagement and from us with the family, so just want to make that clear. Look, I just laid out how the FBI and the State Department has offered up $11 million in rewards, right, to try and get more information. We do not know his location and we do not know his condition, and so we are trying to do everything that we can to get that information. We are committed to bringing him home, and so that is what you heard from the president certainly on Sunday when he was asked directly this question, or asked a question about Austin, and so that continues to be our commitment. So we are certainly working through the Turks and others to find him and bring him home. So that is the actions that we have been taking, and so I don't have anything else to share beyond that.
If you have anything more to share, I trust you'll tell us. Let me ask you, if I can, following up on a question that was asked to Jared, that